So now before I start, I think some of you have Indefin Advance NFR with you. However, some of you are on Indefin Business, right? So before we start, I would like to clarify that policy and control is same for both of them. There is no difference in policy and control. There is just a simple UI difference, right? Otherwise, whatever policies we can create in Indefin Business, same policies can be created through Indefin Advance. This section is completely same. If you'll open policy on Indefin Advance or you open the same policy on Indefin Business, it is exactly the same. So do not get confused that this training is not meant for Indefin Advance or this training is only for Indefin Business, right? The policy and control is exactly same on both Indefin Business and Indefin Advance. So it does not matter which dashboard we use, policy creation process will remain the same, right? So today, since I have my test agent installed on this server, that is Indefin Business one, we'll refer this particular server for policy creation. However, I'm repeating it again. Do not get confused. Same way, policies can be created on Indefin Advance also, right? So these are the major policies that you can create through Indefin: device, application, emails, file uploads, content-based policy, shadow copy, and screenshot. So today we'll create all these policies one by one. I'll show you how they can be created and how it exactly works. So the first policy that we talk about is device policies. So as you must have observed, every section has two parts. One is template and the other one is management. Template part is from where we create policies. Right, you come to template part, you create a new policies. So today for device, I'll only demonstrate USB based policies, right? Rest you can try on your own. For USBs, we have block, read only, and full allow policies. Other than this, we also have enforced encryption. So I'll name this policy Rio, right? So first I'll demonstrate how block works, right? In general, how basically USB policies work. I'll save this policy. I'll go to device policy management. Our agent name is also Rio. We'll search our agent and we'll apply the policy that we just created. So our policy name was also Rio. So we'll search Rio and apply it on the system. Now, this you might already be aware of. So Indefin runs in stealth mode, which can be activated or deactivated. Currently, on this machine, stealth mode is deactivated. By deactivated, I mean you will be able to see Indefin pop-ups. You will be able to see Indefin icon also. So this I have knowingly disabled so that you can see how the Indefin is actually working when the blocking is happening and all those activities. If you want, you can manually sync policy from here as well. So our policy successfully synced. Now I'll plug in a USB onto this machine. As you can see, it is giving you the complete status that a USB is plugged in, which is unregistered and which is blocked by Indefin. I'll remove this USB and we'll change the policy. In similar way, you can apply full allow and read only policies also for Indefin. Right, similarly, we have read only and full allow policies. Now, so the major thing that we need to see in this template is enforced encryption and how it exactly works. So as I've already mentioned before, how enforced encryption works is you have this USB space. Inside this space, Indefin will create a dynamic encryption vault which will also be password protected. Now this vault is created, it's a one-time activity and it is created the first time you plug in a USB. So I'll enable this. For that, first I'll have to full allow USB and enable enforced encryption. We save this policy. Normally it takes 1 minute to sync any policy on the endpoint because that is a synchronization cycle. We have currently set it as 1 minute. So it will take at least 1 minute to sync.
Hello, Deepali.
Yes.
Actually, I am not able to see the screen you're sharing.
Does anybody else also has a problem of viewing the screen?
No, it's fine.
Pankaj, kindly log out and log in again because for other people they are able to see and hear the voices as well.
Okay.
So it's 1 minute and the policy has successfully synced. Now we'll again plug in the USB. As you can see, now it's showing devices fully allowed. Earlier it was showing the devices blocked. Now now we have enforced encryption policies in place and this USB is being plugged in for the first time. So when you plug in for the first time, this is the disclaimer that you receive, that there is an encryption policy implemented on this system and would you like to use it with encryption. If you choose not to encrypt your USB, then you will not be able to use the USB for any write activity anyway. And if you want to write, you need to create this vault. So we'll click on yes. We'll create a password for this USB. And now it will start creating the encryption vault. So this is a one-time activity. This will happen the first time you plug in any USB on a system with this policy
ये
enabled.
दीपाली आपकी वॉइस ब्रेक हो रही है. Hello,
Hello.
I'm not able to hear Dipali.
Does anybody else also has a problem with my voice? Okay, Yogita, you can't hear.
No, it's okay.
It's coming fine.
Okay, so Amar, please check your network connection once. So the data which was present on this USB before we encrypted it will still be there. It will not get removed. However, you can read read things which are outside this encrypted space, but you won't be able to write anything over there. So now this your USB will get divided into these two parts. The outer part is the remaining space in the USB which will work only in read-only mode, and this is your encryption vault. So once your USB is encrypted, this vault will get opened. So this is the vault that you will use while writing any data inside this USB. So currently, as you can see, Enterprise Vault is enabled. You are inside Enterprise Vault, and on the right hand side, this is your machine. So you can transfer or copy anything from your machine to this encrypted space. So I'll use this. I'll copy write. So it got copied in my USB, and we can copy more files. Right, so you can easily copy data in the USB. So as I mentioned in our earlier trainings as well, this USB has two parts. One is Enterprise Vault and the other one is Personal Vault. Now Personal Vault is selected. As you can see, you cannot write anything inside the personal vault because the policy is not enabled. Right, as I earlier mentioned, only enterprise vault is enabled by default. You cannot write anything inside this personal vault because whatever data you write inside the personal vault can be accessed from the non-organization computers with help of a password. So this is disabled, and whatever you have transferred inside this enterprise vault can only be accessed from the organization computers with help of a password. So we'll close and we'll remove this USB. This time what I'll do is I'll enable the personal vault. From here you can enable the personal vault. So if this says restrict enforce encryption, that is you restrict data from being accessed from non-organization computers. Now we have removed the restriction.
एक क्वेश्चन है हमारा.
हाँ जी.
The vault is working like as a e-discovery.
What?
Vault is working like as a e-discovery.
No, it is a separate encrypted space created on a USB.
Mm-hmm.
It created an encrypted space on a USB to protect your data from unauthorized access outside the organization, and at the same time give you the flexibility to use USBs in the organization.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have made changes in the policy. It will sync in another 1 minute, or we'll sync it manually from here. So it's synced. So when it successfully syncs, it turns into a green tick. Now I'll plug in the USB again. It will again show this pop-up. We'll click on yes. It will ask for the password. And open the vault for us. Now, earlier we were not able to write inside this personal vault, right? Personal vault is selected, this space. So now we'll try to transfer data in this personal space. So as you can see, now we are able to transfer data inside this personal vault space. Now what happens is when you take this USB and you plug it into any other system which is not which does not have Indefend installed on it, right? Which is majorly your non-organization computer. In that system, data inside this enterprise vault, right? This enterprise space will not be accessible at all, right? These two files will not be accessible for them. However, they can access this personal vault space. So if you want that some data should be allowed to go outside the organization, you enable this vault, you transfer that data inside this space, and you share the USB, right? In addition to that, whatever data has been transferred to this USB has been monitored and captured. And since this USB was not registered, we also get this incident alert. Unregistered device was used. Under file, as you can see, device activities, you can see that 3 files were transferred using enforced encryption, and 1 complete block attempt was made because initially we plugged in the USB as complete block. So this was blocked USB attempt, as you can see. You can check for all. So these are all the activities that we perform through USB. If you click, it will give you the details of the file which was transferred. So this was the file which was transferred in the personal vault. You can see, if you want, you can download this file as well. Similarly, the other two files, tt.txt and launcher.txt, you can see over here. So this is how majorly the USB policies work. Other than that, you can apply full allow without enforced encryption and full read-only policies. I'll also demonstrate one more thing. As you can see, this is a removable device. You click on it and let's try to copy something over here. As you can see, the device is write protected. So outside the encryption vault, in the remaining space of the USB, you won't be able to write anything. However, if there was any file which was present earlier, you will be able to access that. Now we will enable the stealth mode. Or fine, we'll just let it be. So next is URL based blocking. We'll go to blacklist management and we will create our own list. You can add any URL or IP address that you would want to block. Right, we have added a facebook.com and amazon.in. We'll save this. We have saved our list. Then we'll go to application policy template. Now application policy template, it maintains a repository of all the applications installed. So currently on this particular server, we have a lot of applications installed. Also a lot of agents installed. In agent management, as you can see, there are a lot of agents installed. So any network application that ever resided on these systems have automatically synced to this template. Right, so Indefend maintains a repository of all the network application that are installed on all the machines in the organization. It does not just capture the application name, but it also captures the different version of application installed. Now, whenever you create a new template, by default, everything is blocked. Right, and Indefend follows a whitelist based approach. That is, only the applications you allow will be able to make a network connection. By network connection, I mean they will be able to connect to the internet or the internal network. If they are not allowed, they will stay blocked. Right, as you can see, nothing is allowed right now. So whatever you will allow will run, otherwise it won't. So I have currently applied this policy. Currently full allow policy is applied. Right, now what we can do is we will whitelist certain applications. For example, FTP applications I've already allowed. Not all of them. PuTTY I have allowed. Right, PuTTY we will be able to use. All the internet browsers have been allowed. Torrent is blocked. If you want, you can just simply allow it by clicking on allow. Screen sharing application like GoToAssist is also allowed. Putty is again allowed. Skype is not allowed, and all the system applications are allowed. From other applications, we haven't allowed a lot of applications. GoToMeeting is allowed, right? So first policy that we will apply is URL blocking. So we have already created a policy from blacklist management, Rio_1, in which we have mentioned facebook.com and amazon.in should be blocked. So from blacklist management, from blacklist we created the policy, right? Now this once created, this policy can be applied from the application template only. You enable web filtering, you create an ad blacklist, and from here either you choose a category of websites, like I have chosen jobs and careers. So we have 67 predefined website categories. Either you can choose on the basis of website category, and you can choose the list that you have created. So we have chosen jobs and careers and the policy that we created, Rio, for URL based blocking. We'll click on OK and we will save this template. So by saving this template and applying this template, the policy will mean that applications that we have whitelisted, only those applications will be able to connect to the internet, and the URLs that we have blocked, we will not be able to access those URLs through the browser. So we have saved this template. We will apply this template on the endpoint. Now, every application that we did not allow, if those applications will try to make a network connection, they will be blocked, and we will also receive a pop-up on the bottom right corner since stealth mode is not enabled. So you might see some pop-ups on the bottom right corner from now on. So we'll open a fresh browser. First we'll check URL based blocking. So as you can see, the website is strictly restricted. You received a pop-up, web URL facebook.com, and this is the browser that you used. So you can see that this website has been blocked through Indefend. Now we'll check amazon.in. This is also blocked. You can see this website is strictly restricted. Then we also blocked job websites. So we'll try naukri.com. So again, you can see this website is strictly restricted, naukri.com. Now we'll try and open the other websites which are not blocked, like hotstar.com. So this website is working since it was not blocked. We can also use Flipkart. Flipkart is also opening. So all in all, you can see the websites or the category of website that we blocked are getting blocked, and rest other websites are still accessible. Now we'll check for application blocking. So we will block, I'll uncheck go to assist application, and then we'll check blocking for go to assist. First, I'll show you how go to assist is getting connected right now. So as you can see, go to assist is currently working right now. It is does have the internet access, right? Now we will block it and then we'll check how it works. So as you can see, I have unchecked it. So currently go to assist is not allowed. We will save this template.
Muted. Unmuted.
So we have unchecked go to assist. We have saved the template. We'll apply this on our machine. As you
Muted.
can
Unmuted.
So as you can see, this application is currently not allowed. So any thread of go to assist which might be running on the background is also getting blocked. So we'll open the application again.
Hi, Dipali.
Hi.
Dipali, one quick question. Basically, is it possible to block LinkedIn chat?
LinkedIn chat.
Chat box? Yeah.
No, not specifically LinkedIn chat.
Okay. So if it is like that, we have to stop someone from uploading some data, onto LinkedIn chat. So we have to just block the LinkedIn for him, right?
File upload, for file upload on LinkedIn, I'll need to check once, because recently we have checked on Google Hangout, and Google Hangout we were able to monitor, and hence it could also be blocked with help of file upload policies. So for LinkedIn also, I'll get it checked and confirm back to you.
Okay.
So there is a possibility that if they're using it through web, that they might be able to, but still I'll get it checked and confirm it. Okay.
Okay. And Dipali, one more question. Specifically, it's just basically for the mailing part. So, is window mailing application covered? Can we like track the mail logs from window mailing application?
No. So the email clients that we support are only Outlook and Thunderbird. Other than that, we do not support any other email client.
Outlook and Thunderbird, right?
Hanji.
Okay.
So as you can see, GoToAssist is now getting blocked, right? It is not getting connected, and you can also see the block pop-up at the bottom right corner. Now we will check the other capabilities of, we'll move forward. So as you must have seen in application template, we have three parts, right? One is allow, one is block, and the other one is sandboxing, right? Bypass means if you bypass any application through Indefend, then Indefend will just simply bypass it. Indefend will not interfere with that application, right? Not monitor it. Second one is sandboxing. So what happens in sandboxing is, for example, you say, Dipali, I want putty should be allowed within my organization. However, I would want that putty should only be able to connect to the set of IPs that I decide, right? Or I mention. So that is where sandboxing comes in. So before I apply the policy, I would like to demonstrate something, how normally how putty is currently working on this system. So I have these two VMs open, one of whose IP is 101, and for the other one the IP is 102. So now I will try and take putty access for both of them. Currently putty I have allowed. Right, so this VM we are able to connect, and if we check for the second VM, we are also able to connect to the second VM. Right, so putty is currently connecting to any, probably maybe any IP that you would want to connect it to. Now what we will do is we will apply application based restriction, where we will restrict putty to only connect to a particular IP or a set of IPs. Right, that is what the sandboxing is called. So before we apply sandboxing, we need to go and create a policy in internet exceptions. Internet exceptions is where you create a list in which you mention with which IP or URL Indefend should be able to, this putty or any application should be able to connect to, right? So I'll choose 10, let's just choose 101. It will mean that once I apply this policy, then Indefend will be able to connect to only, sorry, putty application will only be able to connect to this IP. I'll save this. I'll go to application policy templates. I will open our template. I'll go to putty application. I'll enable sandboxing and I will choose our template. Now PuTTY application will only be able to establish connection with 192.168.1.101 IP. We also have PuTTY application somewhere else under FTP. We save this policy. Now we will again start PuTTY. First we'll connect to 101, which should get connected. As you can see, we are able to connect to 101. Now we will try and connect to 102. So as you can see, it is giving you an error, and you can also see a pop-up at the bottom. The IP address is currently not allowed. That is 102. So this is how you can do application-based blocking, that is restrict a specific application to only connect to a whitelisted set of IPs or URLs. So this is called application access control. So such policies can also be applied for applications. So these were all in all our URL and URL based blocking and application based policies. Now before we move to email or file upload policies, I would first like to come to content filter based policies. So content filtering basically helps you to create policies to only allow sensitive information, so to block or generate incident alert for sharing of sensitive information through the endpoints. Before you apply these policies or create these policies, first you need to define the sensitive information. So sensitive information can be defined with help of these three parameters. One is keyword and phrases, second is pattern, third is file type. For keyword, you can create a list or import a list of sensitive keywords. So I'm choosing if any of the word from the list is found, then it is an incident from me. Now I'll create a list. I'll add sensitive keyword. Security. Confidential, right? And name of my rule is Rio_K. I will save this rule. So I have one keyword rule. Similarly, I can also create pattern-based rules. Pattern-based rules are majorly for your sensitive patterns like mobile number, Aadhaar card number, PAN number. So these are some of the basic patterns already in place for mobile numbers. So we will apply the mobile number pattern over here. So basically for pattern based rules, you can create a regex of any pattern that you would want to restrict or block. You can just simply define the regex for the same. So we will use mobile number pattern, which is already created. So the spelling should exactly be the same while creating the rule. So it's mobile number. Okay. Third is file type rules, where you define the file extensions, right? PDF, TXT, or anything. So in this, we already have a rule defined as file or PDF, or we can create a new rule. Now, once these three rules are created separately, the fourth step is to create content filter rule management. Content filter rule management basically creates a syntax which is a combination of these rules. Right? For example, you might say, Dipali, I want that my keyword rule 1 or my pattern rule P. If any of these two is triggered, it is an alert for me. Right? So you have an or rule with these two, or you can have an and rule with these two rules. So from here is where you define the syntax. So syntax starts with round bracket open space. For keyword rule, we use capital K, colon, and name of the rule. So the rule that we created was Rio underscore 1. Then we give a space. After the space, either you can close this, right, with only single rule, or you can use an or in between, right? Or and works in a similar way like they work in Boolean expressions. Okay. So for example, I use an or and I define my pattern rule, mobile number. And then I say or I have another rule to add, which is a file type rule, capital F, and the name of the rule was txt in caps lock. And then we close the bracket. Now this particular rule means either my keyword rule Rio underscore 1 or my mobile number rule or my file type rule txt. That means either the document should contain the sensitive key, any of the sensitive keywords like security, sensitive, and confidential that we added in Rio in list Rio underscore 1, or it can have a mobile number, or it can be a txt file. If any of those three conditions are true, then this rule will get triggered. I'll name this rule again as Rio and I will save this. So now we have created the rule. Now with help of content filtering, you can achieve three things, majorly three things. One is alerting, that whenever such sensitive information is being shared, we should receive an alert. Second is blocking, that whenever such sensitive information is being shared, it should be blocked and I should receive an alert. Third is data at rest scan, which will scan the physical storage and give you a report that where all the sensitive information resides. So what I'll do is I'll open a test email ID. One more thing, it is mandatory that your shadow logging should be enabled for content filter rules to work. What happens with shadow logging is, so whatever, I think you're already aware of, whatever email is being sent, file that is being uploaded, right, or any information that is being transferred to USB, Indefend can capture a copy of it. As you saw, for USB activities, whatever files that we had transferred in the USB were captured, right, and we were able to download those files from the dashboard. So the copy of the files that Indefin maintains on the server are called shadow copies. So those shadow copies should be enabled for the content filtering to work, because Indefin can only read the content of the file if shadow logging is enabled. If it is not, then content filter based policies will not work. So that's why we go to shadow log based policies, go to shadow log template. Currently default policy is applied, and in default policy shadow logging is enabled. As you can see, all of them are checked. So all of them are checked. Maximum file size that Indefin can shadow copy is 25. So it is a good practice that you always keep it as 25, right? If the customer has no storage restriction and you enable these three. So for us, it is currently enabled. So we can proceed, right? So once the syntax rule is created, now the first thing that I will demonstrate is content based alerting, that only alerts should come and no blocking should happen. So we'll go to the fifth part, that is content filter based template. In content filter based template, you can define on which channel which content filter based rule should be applied. So on SMTP channel, I've applied Rio. Gmail, we have applied Rio. File uploads, we have applied Rio. And we'll name this as rule R. We will save this. We'll go to the next step. So as you saw, we moved sequentially while creating this rule. So the next step is content based policy management. We came to management section. We selected our user and we applied the rule. So we have to wait for 1 minute for this rule to get synced. Parallelly, what we'll do is we'll start creating sample document. We will create a Word document with sensitive information. So we have a doc file with hi.docs saved. We'll create another doc file with phone number in it. So we'll send a test email. So first we'll send the document with sensitive keyword. Then we'll send the document with sensitive number. Then we'll send an email with text document. And then we'll send a normal document. So it takes some time for shadow logs to sync on the indefense server. Once the shadow log syncs, only then you'll start receiving the content-based alerts. Parallelly, we will also check for file uploads. While these logs are getting synced, we'll move ahead with email policies. So as I mentioned earlier, for emails, when it comes to email clients, we only support Outlook and Thunderbird client, right? Those are our SMTP ID based policies, right? And for webmail, since we have a special integration with G Suite, we are able to control G Suite activities as well. So one such policy is, so this policy I won't be able to demonstrate it to you right now because I do not have Outlook configured on my machine, but I'll tell you what it does. So this policy can help you to whitelist or blacklist recipient email domains. Right, recipient email ID or domain, these are the syntax for the same. For example, if I allow this, will allow emails to be only sent to dataresolve.com email domain because we have allowed email, so we have whitelisted this email domain. Similarly, if you click on block, then this particular email domain will get blacklisted. Next is sender domain based policies. So sender domain based policies help you to whitelist the email sender domain, right? In case of Outlook and Thunderbird client, whichever email domain you mention over here, user will be able to send emails only through those domains, right? However, they will still be able to configure other domains on Outlook, but they won't be able to send any emails. Basically, it will run for them in read-only mode. However, in case of G Suite, what happens is, if I whitelist and mention dataresolve.com, then from that particular machine, user will only be able to log into dataresolve.com domain through Gmail. What happens in case of Gmail is, if you're whitelisted certain domain, for example, in case of Gmail, for example, if your organization is on G Suite, right, and you want to give them web-based access, so you have to allow gmail.com. However, if you allow gmail.com, that also opens the vulnerability that they might access their personal email and share some sensitive information. However, within defense sender based policy, you can whitelist the sender domain. And what will happen in G Suite is, user will only be able to log in through the whitelisted domain. They won't be able to log into their personal domain from gmail.com. I'll show you an example for the same. We save this template and we apply.
And Dipali, hello.
Anji.
If we have like any subdomain, then अगर हमारे पास कोई subdomain होता है,
Subdomain as in?
ऐसे अगर जैसे हमारा जो प्राइमरी डोमेन है उसके बाद से कोई हमने दूसरा कोई सबडोमेन बनाया प्राइमरी डोमेन के अंदर,
आप वो भी वहां पे मेंशन कर सकते हो. सिंगल नहीं, आप मल्टीपल ईमेल आईडीज डाल सकते हो व्हाइट लिस्ट करने के. As you can see, it is giving you the error. We were logged in from dirtdevtest@gmail.com. It is showing Gmail is only available for the accounts in the following domain, that is dataresolve.com, since dataresolve.com was whitelisted as sender domain. अब the next policy is, तब तक हम इनके अलर्ट्स चेक कर लेते हैं. आप जैसे देख सकते हो यहाँ पे अलर्ट्स आने शुरू हो गए. So contact.doc click showing file this with sensitive content trigger content file based rules RIO was uploaded to the unauthorized domain. If we click on this, it will take us to the detailed reporting section, जहाँ वो बता देगा हमें कि these were the sensitive patterns which were detected. These are the 2 phone numbers, and the rules which got triggered was file uploaded to unauthorized domains because we haven't whitelisted ForShared as authorized domain, and file uploaded with sensitive content, the name of the content based rule which got triggered, and the sensitive patterns that got detected. So this is how Indefin captures the content based activities. Similarly, as the shadow log starts syncing for other files as well, it will start triggering alerts for them also. Emails, it has triggered for one. This is again for phone number based rule. So this is how the content filter based alerting works. Now we'll come to the blocking. One, you can block on the basis of the email attachment file extensions, right? You can either whitelist or blacklist. So I'll show you an example. We'll whitelist only PDF. So if other than PDF, I'll upload any other document through my Gmail account. In Gmail, what happens is it does not let you upload any block document. However, in case of SMTP, it lets you upload documents. However, it does not allow you to send that email. I'll save this template. We will sync the policy. It's synced. So as I was saying earlier, in Gmail, it does not let you upload any block document. So for now, we have blocked any other file extension except for PDF. So no other file extension will get uploaded. As you can see, doc upload failed. TXT upload failed. PDF upload successful because we have whitelisted PDF. Similarly, if you want, you can block, blacklist also on the basis of file extension, and blacklist on the basis of file name also. Right? You can try these policies out on your own. We'll proceed with the next one. So content-based alerting is something which I've already demonstrated. However, how can we achieve content-based blocking? We click on block some in emails if we want to block sensitive information sharing through email. We will choose the rule. The rule that we created was the Rio. We will save the template. I also once more check the rule Rio. Okay, it was Rio underscore K. That is why this rule did not get triggered. As you can see, another content-based rule got triggered. So the PDF file which we uploaded did contain the sensitive keyword, hence it got triggered for that particular file also. Now the policy is synced. Now we'll check for block rules. Sorry, we need to move this to allow all, otherwise it will only it will start blocking PDF. That is fine. So contact.docx got blocked because it had sensitive information. Hi.doc should also get blocked because it has sensitive keywords. Sample.docx should not get blocked. And we'll also just upload some other random files. tt.txt also got blocked. Now we'll check on the dashboard. Soon we'll start getting content filter based blocking based alerts stating why the following documents got blocked. Parallelly, we'll also check tt.txt, what it contains. So it was a txt document, probably that's why it got blocked. So we'll wait for the content filter based alerts to get populated for the same. Next policy that we have is file upload. File upload policies are same as email based policies. The only difference is that they are for web file based uploads. Otherwise, they have policies on the basis of file extensions and on the basis of sensitive content. Right. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate it for sensitive content. We'll apply the same rule. So we'll go to forshare.com and now we'll try to upload these files. Now see, every website behave differently when it comes to file uploads. Some will get stuck, they will never upload the document. Some will give you certain error while uploading the sensitive documents, right? As you can see on Forshare, what happens is it gives you a connection problem and it never proceeds from here. So your file upload never actually gets successful. So this is how it works on Forshare. Similarly, there are other websites who might work differently. Now the thing is, there are two kind of protocols that are generally used to upload a file. One is put protocol and one is post protocol. So the protocol Indefend works on is the post protocol. So any website which uses the post protocol to upload the files are the websites that Indefend will be able to monitor under the file upload activities. There might be certain websites that Indefend might not be able to monitor under file upload activities. That is because they might be using some other protocol. That is the put protocol. So we'll wait for the incident alerts to get populated.
Unmuted.
As you can see, the alerts have started getting populated. Email blocked with sensitive content trigger rule. Right, the Rio block, this is for contact.docx. These were the sensitive patterns detected, and the rule triggered was email blocked. Similarly, you can check for others as well. Okay, it is currently triggered for one. So one more thing, in case of G Suite, you might get several logs getting populated for a single email. The reason that this happens is because, as you might have observed, while composing an email in G Suite, when we are composing that particular email, it gets saved in every few seconds. As you can see, draft saved. So every time it gets saved, Indefend generates a log on the dashboard. That is why for a single email, you might get multiple logs. And Indefend also captures the draft email activities for G Suite. As you can see, we blocked one document through file upload activity as well. So file that we uploaded was hi.docx, which got blocked, and the sensitive information that was detected was sensitive keyword. So this is how email and file upload based policies work. Content filter based policy we have already covered. However, if you would want to implement data at rest scan, you can go to data at rest scan policy, choose your system, click on apply data rest, choose the template that we have created. In this case, we'll choose Rio block. I'll name this as scan1, batch size 25, maximum I'm going to take, interval I'll take 10, and file type I will only scan for txt file so that it completes gets completed as soon as possible, and I'll choose doc and docx. Assign. So it has been applied. Once it is completed and successful, the state will change over here and we will be able to download the report. So this will take some time. We'll move on to the next one, that is shadow log policy, screenshot based policies. Now in screenshot based policies, as you already must be aware of, we have two kinds of policies. One is periodic, which captures the screenshots periodically for a machine in a regular interval. Minimum can be 30 seconds. So what periodic screenshot does is it will start capturing the screenshots of my screen periodically in every 30 seconds without me even realizing. No pop-ups, nothing. Second is event based, where it starts taking screenshots for a specific event. That is, it can be a specific application or a title window. So first we will create a screenshot event based template, right? We'll go to policy control, screenshots, screenshot event management. We will create our own event based template. We'll choose screenshot application access event, that is, we will apply it for a specific event application. Let's choose putty. We'll again go to screenshot policy template. We will create a new template. We will enable periodic screenshots for every 30 seconds, event triggered for every 15 seconds, and we will add putty underscore one template under event triggered based policies. I'll save this template and apply on our system. What we'll do is we will also open putty for some time. So for the time being, if you have any queries, please feel free to ask. So any questions, anyone?
Hello, hi Dipali. This is Dhruv. Dipali, I just wanted to check that if a user is opening their personal email, okay. Now we have seen that we can block the file uploads and everything, but can we monitor them? For example, a user is uploading, I've just allowed everything on the user machine, and
Yes,
they
we
are
do.
opening G.
Yes,
Yeah, it can be done, right?
yes, it can be done.
Okay, through the same in the email, right? In the email policy template, do we need to apply?
See, today's session was majorly dedicated to how to create policies. Right before this,
Okay,
we have had those sessions where everyone has a complete walkthrough, right? Where we
okay,
majorly concentrated on how it captures the logs. So for all the
okay,
channels for which we are able to control it, we can also monitor those activities.
okay,
So
okay,
by default, everything works in full allow and full monitoring mode. And then comes policy and control, from where you can create policies to restrict certain activities.
okay.
Yes. We'll move ahead now. So these were majorly the policies that Indefend has, right? The policy control part, from where you can restrict certain activities. Other than that, I will also show you some of the basic settings that you need to do before you initiate a POC, right? So you go to Indefend settings. Here we have advanced server settings. So I will recommend that you always activate the stealth mode, right? Default stealth mode policy. As you saw, for me it was deactivated because the default policy was set to deactivate. So whenever you install an agent, by default stealth mode gets deactivated. However, if you would want to enable stealth mode for every agent which is getting installed, just activate it from the advanced server settings. So it will get globally activated, right? And you just save this template, save these policies. Or for, like, in case of my machine, it is already installed, right? Now I want to change it. You select the user, you go to the user details section, and from here you can activate the policy. Right, if you would want to activate or deactivate for a specific user. Next is, and the same thing is available for Indefend Advanced also. In Indefend Advanced, you can just simply go to Indefend settings and Advanced Server settings. Same kind of access is available here also. Then we have report analytics settings. One major thing that you should always do is you go to Gmail activity. The name says Gmail activity, however, it works for SMTP based email activities also. So you go there and you mention your official email domain or multiple domains, right? So what happens is, you must have observed that in our email activity we always receive this incident, personal email sent. So once you whitelist your official email domain, you will stop getting this alert for your official domain. Similarly, for web file upload activities, we were getting this incident or unauthorized domain. However, if you add any URL or IP over here, then that will become your authorized domain and you will stop receiving that particular incident alert for any unauthorized file upload. But these report analytics settings are only valid for Indefend Business. These settings does not work on Indefend Advanced server. In Indefend Advanced, we have a separate set of policies to make these changes. For that, we will have a separate session. Right, that session will be scheduled next or next to next week. We will share the invite with you for that. Right, so these settings should be done to manage your incident alerts. Similarly, for FTP file uploads, you can define authorized file upload domains. You can also define certain high risk domains. So whenever these domains are being accessed, you get an incident. Then for application and browser, as you must have observed, in the top right corner, we do receive certain alerts.
Hi, Dipali.
Yes.
Just one question. I wanted to know, basically, can we get the incident alerts for OWA also? OWA also?
On Indefend Business. On Indefend Business, for OWA, you can get for content filter based policies. Otherwise not.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so as you can see under browser incident alerts, right? So we have added certain website, certain categories. As you can see in the browser activities, jobs and careers, online shopping, and gmail.com has been added to the ranking graph. Now, whenever these set of websites are being accessed, Indefend generates an incident alert for you on the top right corner. So Gmail, Flipkart, jobs and career based websites, whenever they are used, you receive an alert. If you want, you can add more website categories or a specific website also from here. The websites you add here will not be blocked, right? This is not for blocking. This is only for generating the incident alerts for a specific website access or a specific website category access. So you can add them, save them, and whenever they are being used, you will get an incident alert populated on the top right corner. Similar kind of incident alerts can be configured for application network activity. Either you choose from application categories from here, or you enter a specific web application over here. So whenever these applications are being used, you will get incident alert under the application incident alert section. So this is how the incidents are configured for Indefend Business. This will not work for Indefend Advanced report analytics settings section. There's a separate section for this in Indefend Advanced. There will be a separate training session for that also. Other than that, whatever logs have been generated, you can see them under incident analytics section. As you can see, under indifferent block activities also you are able to see the logs for our blocked activity access. We access Amazon. In blogs we access Facebook. In jobs we access Naukri.com, which were blocked. Similarly, blocked application access is also getting monitored. This is for Putty and this is for your GoToAssist. Similarly, Gmail blocked email activity has also been populated over here. You can go to the blocked activity and see the blocked activity log. Same for file uploads. Your USB devices. Search engine, whatever searches that we have made are captured over here. Or we can just go to the detailed reporting section and see how the reports, all the reports. So we'll now come to the screenshot logs and check screenshot activities for our user. So as you can see, these are the event triggered logs for Putty application. So only for Putty window in every 15 seconds. Then we have periodic logs for the entire window in every 30 seconds. So currently it is on 0%. Once the shadow log completes to 100%, you will be able to open and view these screenshots also. So this is how the screenshot logs get populated. Other than that, all the other reports can also be downloaded from here, or you can just go to cumulative report and download all these reports in a single report. And this is our productivity module, where you can see how much time spent on which application or website. This is for today's logs. I think there is some challenge. This is not yet populated. However, when you set up your NFR, you will be able to see these logs as well. And from cumulative report, you will be able to download all the reports for all the channels in a single report. Other than this, as Jaspreet mentioned, so the emails that we monitor are any email configured on Outlook or Thunderbird client on SMTP, IMAP or MAPI. And through web, we capture the complete email activities for G Suite and OVA. For other emails except for G Suite and OVA, we are able to capture the attachments, but we do not capture the complete email body. So as you can see, these are the complete activity reports, allowed and blocked. As you can see, these are the blocked URL based reports. There are 3 blocked URL activity that we performed. Similarly, allowed application activities, blocked application activities, USB based activities. So all the allowed, blocked, email activity or access, you receive all the report in the complete activity report. So this is how you can create and define policies. Last is live email alerts. So if you want, you can enable daily email reports to be sent to a defined email ID every day. Right, for example, I mentioned this. Enable it, define that every day at 11 a.m. email reports should be, email incident reports should be sent to me for all these channels. Right, and I can save this. However, to enable this, you need to do one more setting. You need to go to indifferent settings, and under mail server settings, you need to add your email server's information. So this is compulsory for you to enable the live alerts. And this mail server setting information that you enter over here should be the customer's mail server information. Right? So this is how live alerts can also be configured. So any question or anything that you might have, please ask now before we conclude the session.
Ma'am, there is a one question.
Hmm.
Actually, can we block password protected sensitive data?
No, we do not block it. However, Indefin does generate an incident alert for that, showing that a password protected file was shared.